I just thought it'd be a good idea to do a brief overview with the PowerPoint up here for Public Works. And in it, I just tried to get some numbers and some of the departments, and I think I was a little surprised by some of the numbers, so I just wanted to share it with you. And it should take a couple minutes. I'm not going to make this go any longer than we need to go. So I'll just start off. These are
still coming around, the handout.
Oh, and there's a handout coming around for everybody, so you can have this for future reference as well. And as Paul said, these are the bureaus as he just listed them. And it goes on to the second page here. So then I went into some of the numbers of how the Public Works fits into the budget. And as you can see here, the Public Works budget is $15.05 million. And that's 18.36% of the total general fund budget. And this percentage, going back, has decreased over the years. It's started off at 1959, and that's down to 18.36. And then there's 633 total employees in the city workforce. Public Works has 37% of that workforce. But these are the numbers that were interesting to me. Even though it's 37% of the workforce, it's got 16.5% of the salary cost and 6.3% of the total pension cost. So it kind of puts in perspective where Public Works is on that realm there. And in the budget here this year, 2 Public Works positions have been eliminated that were in the 2018 budget.
Dave, when you count employees, you counting part-time or full-time?
Full-time, full-time.
No part-timers?
No part-timers.
Garbage didn't be counted on it?
Garbage guys aren't counted, just the full-time garbage guys.
Okay.
And then in this budget, 2 Public Works positions have been eliminated.
What are they?
One is in engineering as a transit person.
And what did that person do?
That person was in the survey crew.
And what they explained to me, Liz, was when you had 2 men on the crew with the post, holding it, he has eliminated the person that held the post, right?
With a robot. We have a robot now.
And so this was at a savings of approximately $150,000 in salaries and employee cost. So are you talking about benefits?
Correct.
So what was the second position that was eliminated?
Second position was an operator at the wastewater treatment plant.
Operator, okay. And how much were those salaries separate from the?
The salaries were about $45,000 each, and then the employee costs are about $35,000.
Okay.
So it's around approximately $150. And so the wastewater employee isn't going to be replaced, and as I said, the transit person's got replaced by a robot, which is pretty neat. What Kaz was saying, one guy used to hold the stick. Now there's it's Bluetooth, I think.
Yeah,
it just kind of, yeah.
It can look around and.
So you can do it with one person. And then
did that person retire though?
the person, it was all both by attrition.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't throw anybody out. It was just by attrition, and choosing not to fill a position to get us to
And how much
provide the
are their
savings.
pension costs? How much do they get in pension?
I don't know.
They're gonna get 1/2 of what are eligible, 1/2 of their salary, highest salary.
Okay.
So
The operator of the wastewater treatment plant, though, is that a needed position to be filled?
Well, all the positions are needed. It's that we just we said, look, what can we do? And we took out the one position, and that just means more people do more with less. And then that leads me to, it added to the list, and I went back and researched what we've done over the years in Public Works, and we've eliminated 87 positions since 2005, and there's the list of them. Is on the next page. And I don't know if you can read that on the screen, but on their book you should be able to see it. And this is significant, and you can see in parks it's significantly reduced their work staff there. They're down to about 7 full-time people, and with 54 parks. And then Public Works contributes over $6 million in revenues to the 2019 general fund. And Municipal Garage alone is $900,000. And we get, a lot of that we contract out with outside agencies, say with the sheriffs at the county. We do, you know, several other water authorities, some of their vehicles. And so they also, sewers and refuse pays into that when they get equipment fixed. And that's fuel. And so it adds up to a big chunk of change, $900,000.
David, is there a way to increase that by promoting the city
Yeah,
of
we're
Erie
always,
can handle
AJ,
this?
yeah, AJ is always, he has actually produced almost like a brochure to promote what we're doing there. And there's been a lot of improvements.
I don't
in
want to
the
hurt some of the smaller businesses or smaller
No, we-
garage, but if we can do more of the municipal stuff for the, and whether it even be as far as Wesleyville or Mill Creek, some of their.
we have been talking to Wesleyville, and
Yes.
we're not allowed to do, we can only go through government agencies. We can't take private companies. So someone, like,
Okay.
say like
What-
Mercyhurst couldn't, asked if they couldn't, and we said they couldn't.
I think you should mention that somebody's suggestion last year we raised the labor rate.
Yeah, so
And what is that labor rate?
I think
and-
it's 60.
55 to 65, I think,
And
and
that's
65
cheap.
to
Oh,
75.
it's very cheap.
Is that cheap?
Compared to private.
That's very inexpensive. I don't want to be.
Are we happy with that figure, or could we go
I'm
lower?
sure you could bump it a little bit if that,
Yeah, we did bump it this year, so.
and you could probably bump it again, just like the cost of doing business
Right.
in other areas, the cost of doing business in this area.
Right, which is why we
Shouldn't the cost be based on the actual, what it cost us to do it, though? I mean, it shouldn't be like this is cheap or this is expensive. Shouldn't there be something that says what it cost us to provide those services?
the materials, the hourly rate we charge for our garage, it's a combined rate, because it's not just the one guy, there's several guys, so we combine the average of the salaries and put that as a single rate. But in all the parts that we buy, we put a 20% markup on those.
Funny is,
What he's talking about, Liz, is like when I was at the parking ramp, they would look at the city garage, but they'd also compare it against the private sector. So since we already got the mechanics working for us, we got, there's a fine balancing act. If we can get their business, it doesn't hurt us, because we got the manpower there in the garage. But if we go too high, they will look elsewhere, you know.
Right, and the first priority is our vehicles. Police vehicles will get top priority. If we're plowing, those vehicles get top priority. So when the customers come in, they realize that they're not going to get, sometimes they may have to get in line. So there's a trade-off there as well, because of, you know, we have to make the operations function.
So what are the places that use the, because I think that's a good example by CAS, but ultimately, shouldn't even those other government agencies be looking for the best rate? I mean, shouldn't they be out looking for, I mean, it's great to say, okay, the parking authority is going to get this rate, but ultimately, shouldn't the parking authority, it's an independent authority, be looking for the best rate? So who all are the ones that use this?
They're on page 52
Yeah, go to
of your
page
book.
52 of your
I think the
handout book.
sheriff's department's on there, and a few others.
Housing Authority, Parking Authority, Water Authority, Port Authority, Sheriff's Office, Erie County Juvenile Probation, Erie County Adult Probation, Erie County Prison, Erie County District Attorney's Office, the Lake City Police Department, and the Downtown Improvement District. That's 14 entities.
do you have enough manpower to take care of them, or could you use more?
Right now, it's a nice balance of what the
I think
extra
it's
work come
full-
in.
The garage is being fully utilized.
Yeah, and that's, you know, we have, if there's an open slot, we can get one of them in there, and so it's working, and it's $900,000 of revenue, which is a very nice number.
And Jim, AJ reached out to Wesleyville just a couple weeks ago. They're going to come in and take a tour of the garage.
And, I mean, and I know there's different fees or hourly rates or parts markups. Those can be, I've heard of higher markups, and not to try to take advantage of whatever entity, still give them a good, fair price and product, but
And the
what is comparable out there, and I'll just take Five Star or someone that handles the bigger rigs, some of the dealers are well over $100 an hour, so.
Definitely.
And we did take a look at a couple different price increases.
Good.
And, yeah, and we also have a full service. We have welders there, we have body shop, so we can do just about anything there. And then 44 of the 237 public works employees are non-union. And they'll get $0 of the $2.96 million overtime budget we have. So they're not even part of that. They get none of that. And then this is addressing the proposal made by council to cut the proposed 3% cost of living increase. And our opinion is that based on the statistical information, these public works employees are not the reason for the city's current financial issues. And just to reiterate, they're 37% of the workforce, and only 18.36% of the budget, 16.5% of the salary costs, 6.3% of the total pension costs, $0. And that's with 37% of the workforce.
We're going to hear the same story from every budget head who's going to come in
I
here.
don't think so. This one is.
We're going to hear the same story from every budget head who comes in here, coming in and saying, don't freeze wages. I want to point you to the early intervention report from 2005, which said that for the city to get a handle on its finances, management needs to lead by example. Obviously, it looks like you've cut cost. Dave, I'm going to put you on the spot because this is something I should have asked the previous department heads who were in here. We have some figures overall on how many management employees live in the city. How many of your managers live in the city, and do you two live in the city?
I don't know how many managers of mine live in the city, but I live in the city.
I do not.
You do not live in the city. Okay.
I kind of know the number, Dave, but getting back to what Liz said, we're not blaming anybody.
Right. This
for-
is not a
I
blame.
understand that.
But I'm just saying the proportionate.
No, Dave, this is not a matter of blame on anybody, saying anybody's at fault. We have to lead by example, okay? And we have to find cuts somewhere. We're very limited. Remember that we're taking the same cuts here, okay? Understand that. My insurance goes up just like yours does. So I feel the same pain. Plus, I live in the city, and I'm gonna be punished twice, maybe. Okay? So we don't wanna hear it no more. We understand, we're not blaming anybody.
Well, Cass,
We realize the problem, okay, Dave?
all right, but I just wanted to just,
We understand the number.
I understand that you understand, but I just want to say that, well, 88% of the workforce isn't getting it, 12 are, and then these are these guys that are down in the trenches. These are the guys that are coming, working at night with the worst winter we had. And we're not talking for a pay increase, a merit increase, we're talking just a cost of living. It should not go back.
That is not a cost of living increase. You have had cost of living increases for the last 10 years, averaging almost 3%. The cost of living did not go up every year. Please look at the Consumer Price Index.
Yeah, I did. It's 2.5% for this year.
But in previous years, and Dave, you took, what was your previous job that you had? I know you stayed on, okay? So you got promoted and you did get a raise, correct? Okay.
Right,
I'm not trying to pick on you, but we're never going to get anywhere on trying to wrestle this budget into shape if we have to spend 15 or 20 minutes every night hearing from management people who are crying that they're going to be hurt by this budget. And if we aren't listening to the citizens out there who are going to be hurt, they haven't even had a chance to come up to the podium and say how this is going to hurt them. We are hearing it in emails and phone calls and apparently on talk radio today and when we're taking walks. So it's just, I would rather have a department head come in and say, you know what, I recognize that this is really tough. This is an $11 million deficit. We already took these steps, and guess what? I can come to the table with some more ideas on how to save.
Yeah, and I understand the pressure you're under. I mean, you're getting...
It's not pressure. I signed up for this job.
Exactly. But all I'm saying that the and this is the last thing I'll say about it, too, because I know you don't want to hear it. It's just the most vulnerable people, the 44 that are unprotected by union, are the ones that are taking the hit. And that, you know, it seems to me that there might be other ways to do it than pick on the most vulnerable
We're not
of the
picking on
workforce.
anybody.
We're not
Well, you are.
It
Well-
isn't fair. Any part of this, please understand, it's not that
I understand,
we're
but I'm just
trying
saying,
to take away from
it just seems like
non-union
the
city employees.
easiest way to
We
do
got
it.
I'll give you a good
94,000 people in this town that are looking, saying, what can we do to help offset this
What was-
$11 million
What was
deficit?
Doug Mitchell's salary when he left?
I don't
Well, I can find out. What was it?
I don't know. I
He
don't
started-
remember.
You started the same
Yeah.
he did?
I did.
That's, nowhere in the world, Dave, does that happen.
Sure it
Okay?
does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Not in the real world.
Yes, it does. It happened to me. I got promoted, I got the money.
How about you?
Nope.
Not me either.
Yeah, well, you're not in the real world.
Well, you're not in the real world then, I'm sorry.
You're
I don't
not.
wanna hear this, I really don't, you know what?
Well, I can tell you one thing.
The people out there are tired of hearing about it.
you know,
We all gotta share the pain.
I do not agree with my fellow colleagues.
That's okay, you're allowed to.
I know I am.
Okay, go ahead, don't agree.
That's right. So I just wanted to put that on the table.
But I'm telling you, most places, you don't start out the same. We don't even hear. Policemen don't start out the same. They start out the bottom and work their way up. Same thing in the
That's-
union, you
that's
start at
just
the bottom,
one
you work your way
minor
up.
in- That isn't the big picture, I don't think, is what we're at. You gotta
Right.
understand.
It's a drop in the bucket, but it's,
And I
Where
know
else
those
did-
drops add up.
Yeah.
Believe me, I understand
Yeah.
that, but
All right, I'll end the
Yeah.
slideshow here, but there's one last slide there, and then I don't think needs any more explanation. And thank you, and we'll continue on.
Thank you. Dave, if you were able to change garbage pickup from the nighttime to the daytime, could you tell us what the savings of that might be?
Zero.
Zero?
You lose money probably, because what the problem is with the daytime garbage is the traffic, and the time it's gonna take to get around traffic during the day as opposed to nighttime when there's nobody out on the roads, and you're able to get the garbage done with just
We're gonna start on
8 to 12 trucks. You need more trucks if you want to get it within the time frame and not get overtime.
parking downtown.
how many other people have lived in other cities? How many people have lived in, like, 4 or more cities? How many people have lived in places where the garbage is picked up during the day?
I ain't looked, I've seen it though.
yeah.
Yeah, you could pick it.
I'll tell you what, I travel Mill Creek sometimes, and to be honest with you, that is not traffic friendly or user friendly, but I'm not
But
saying.
Mill Creek also contracts privately.
By picking up the trash at night, we're able to go through our routes quicker. We subject our employees to less vehicles and traffic on the roads. We have the transfer station completely to ourselves, so when our trucks go over there, we're not waiting in line to get back out on the route. And I agree with Dave, if we were to pick it up during the day, we'd have to add additional trucks.
So, in other words, we're going to spend money on a consultant who's going to come in here and talk to us probably about refuse pickup, and whatever they say is going to fall on deaf ears, because everything we're doing in every department is always right.
You asked if there was a savings if we would pick up refuse during the day, and I do not believe there would be. And those are the reasons why.
Dave, what about if the city of Erie just picked it up themselves instead of contracting out to get help? Can you guys just handle it yourselves?
We
That's
do.
it?
We do.
Okay.
We do.
During the day.
Oh,
Yeah, like during the day.
yeah, that's, I mean, if we did it during the day, I'm saying it would cost, just as some things Chuck pointed out, because the transfer station, which is over there by 17th and Raspberry, other people use it during the day. So you wait in line, and then, you know, because you have to dump your truck once it gets a certain weight. And then you have to wait in line to get your, to dump, and then you have to come back and you have to go through the streets and have the traffic. Not only that, you inconvenience the people that are waiting behind you, because they stop house by house by house. And some of these downtown streets are very narrow and you can't get around them. So you're just waiting. If you get stuck behind them, it's a nightmare. So
Well, when do the contract come up for bid? Because I know Pro Waste just opened their transfer.
we put a bid out in the fall, and we didn't receive a bid from Pro Waste. And the contract is, so the contract's extended 1 more year, and then we'll put a bid out again next fall. And hopefully, we met with them.
Yeah, we had Pro Waste in, and they were all about bidding, and then when it came time for the bid,
Well, they did bid on the
the
refuse.
portion of it, the refuse, not the recycling, And then Waste Management said they wouldn't bid unless they got both, and we're gonna have to go out and work on it again.
David, large item pickup, we've always set aside $100,000 a year for that month. I know the mayor implemented a year-long. Where's that fit financially wise if we do it?
Well, that's a good question. This is actually week 26 of that program. We picked up 548 tons at a cost of $23,000. So if the trend would stay the same, it would probably be between 46 and 50,000. So we could see a $50,000 reduction.
Could actually save money then
Yes,
by
it's
doing it.
Been very successful so far.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and plus, if we don't, we're not gonna do the spring cleanup, so it'll be a lot easier on the trucks. There was a lot of damage to the trucks, the weight and the use. We used them 16 hours a day rather than 8 hours a day, because then we'd have to use them again at night for trash. So besides the money, it's gonna help with which also will help save money on less repairs as well.
If people figured out the process of, because I'll be honest with you, they're more, so now I see the couches and the chairs and
Yeah,
that around, and whether they're doing what they're supposed to do, calling in and.
it's a learning process, but I think they're getting it. Everybody's getting it now, and it's my experience. I think I've seen less out there. I mean, than normal, but a lot of stuff is out. We collect during the trash at night, and then the single items during the day. In the morning, you see it out there, and then our guys will get it.
So by doing it year-long, you're thinking about a $50,000 savings.
That's the numbers show that so far. We'll see what happens the rest of like April when.
And I don't know, and there again, in this tough times, if it's feasible to just not have any large pickup until, I don't know, you know, it's $50,000 also that way.
And it's also, the whole idea behind it was to
Clean up.
keep people from giving an option to dump. And this seems to be an easier way to get rid of it. We can do, instead of 1 month a year, now they can do it every day of the year. Less likely to, in theory, to throw stuff, you know, dump it somewhere.
Which, understand, we're still in the trial end of that. So.
Right.
When we started the program, we limited it to 30 pickups a day, and then gradually increased it to 50. In the first few months, we were getting probably 45 or 50 requests, and now it's down to back in the mid-30s.
Who knows, maybe
In the spring, I would imagine.
maybe someday that might be a revenue generated type thing, where if you want the city to come and pick up that couch or whatever, it's
Some cities have that, of course,
just
for
a
that.
thought for future reference.
And if we want to go,
Department by
the department, but.
Page 18.
But I wanted to see if we can do sewers first, because we have our sewer bureau chief here, and I wanted to make sure he didn't have to stay around for a couple hours, and yes, if we have any questions, he'd be able to answer them on the treatment plant operations. We're on page 68.
No, 69.
Yeah, in the big book, or this one. In the big book.
In the regular book or?
Yeah, the regular budget book, page 68.
No, 69.
They
Talking
start
about
on,
revenue.
they started on the expenditures.
Yeah, 68. 69.
68's a revenue.
Revenue,
I don't know.
yeah,
Okay,
we'll deal with
good.
that. We'll deal with that tomorrow. Yes.
69. This is the sewer treatment plant. We have, I don't know how much you want, we have 7 townships that contribute flow to the treatment plant. We average about 40 million gallons a day down there. It can get up to, during a rain event, up to 200 million gallons, and it can come really quick, hours or so it could take. And we have a permit with the DEP to run the plant. We have, for the water, we have an air permit down there. And also, so we're under a lot of scrutiny by the DEP. And I think Basil and those guys do a great job down there. And we'll just go down through some of the items here. On most of the items here, they're either holding their own or a little bit more, but in general, their budget is less than the 2018 budget. Their 2019 budget is about $250,000 less than the 2018. And Basil and the guys down there do a great job keeping us in compliance with our permits. We haven't had any violations, haven't had any trouble with the DEP. And Liz, I think you've seen it, what's going on down there. We're about to go into some capital improvement projects. $29 million bond issues went through. Make some improvements down there to make sure that we keep in compliance and that everything is working correctly.
And like we had said at the beginning, there was a vacant position. We took a very close look at it. We didn't think we needed to fill it, and we eliminated that position, the operator position.
Any questions on the sewer?
I guess the biggest thing, David, overtime wages. That seems to be our big thing in a lot of different departments. What constitutes the overtime in, say, this department, saying?
Yeah, it's a complicated
The
formula.
plant runs 24 hours a day. It's minimally staffed, so whenever someone calls off, we have to bring someone in on overtime to keep the staffing for the plant. Plus, it's open and running on holidays, where there's holiday pay and overtime associated with that.
There's no way to cut, once again, overtime wages in this. Is there any way to?
We do try to combat the overtime wages. One of the operator positions that we eliminated, there used to be 3 daytime operators that only worked first shift. And when someone took vacation on second or third shift, that employee would be redeployed into that shift to eliminate overtime. So we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, I do see it's down compared to this 2018's budget, but it's going to be one of those.
Yeah, and
It's all about minimum staffing.
all the costs that we have for the treatment plant are reimbursed 40% by the townships. So it's not dollar for dollar. So we do get 40% back of every dollar we spend.
Is that reflected in the budget, or?
It comes in as revenue.
Okay.
And we're talking about the sewer revenue tomorrow, correct? Paul?
Yes.
So we'll save some questions for tomorrow. Cover that.
But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It's everything's holding about the same. We go into sewer maintenance. That's our sewer collection crews. They maintain over 400 miles of sewers. We have TV camera trucks. We have VACCON trucks. They do repairs. Their costs have remained about the same as well. I don't know, nothing significant really to discuss on that. They're pretty much across the board similar.
And in the wintertime, when it slows down on their sewer repairs, they get reassigned to the treatment plant for maintenance duties.
Do you know if anyone's retiring in 2019?
I do not know. From sewer collection or wastewater treatment, or just in general?
In the whole group?
Yeah, I'm not certain.
And they're out there, they're on 24/7. I mean, if there's a backup at night, they get called out at night if someone's sewer's backing up in the basement. So these, and they'll.
Actually, could you talk about the utility cost under both these line items? And it looks like you're projecting that it will go down for heat, light, power, and water. Both sewer and sewer treatment, is that correct?
For utility costs, we generally pay $10,000 a month for natural gas, $80,000 a month for electric. Water might be about $30,000 a month for water.
So
I'm not sure about water. I didn't mark it
Is there
down.
like an energy monitoring system or anything? And the reason I'm asking this is because is Basil still on?
Yes.
Basis here.
Aren't there gonna be some green things happening with the capital improvement project, Basil? Aren't there some green initiatives?
I don't believe in the first phase, Liz.
Pardon me?
I don't believe in the first phase, no.
Okay.
But in the past, they have made some improvements to like the blower system, moving away from some of the antiquated blowers, like the 4160, into the turbo blowers. It saves the
Right.
The fluorescent bulbs, especially the 24-hour areas where it has to be constantly, we expect to see in our life.
And the reason I asked you, for a couple of reasons, because I knew that you were taking those initiatives, and somebody had actually asked me today about what the city is doing in terms of climate change. That's a very broad issue, but it struck me that it would be interesting to ask about, say, what we're doing in terms of our energy use to be cognizant of that. So I just...
I still have that meeting with Enernoc.
Okay. Thanks.
Paul, would it be feasible to maybe some people that are retiring, do an early retirement package for them?
We've never really looked into that. I guess if the mayor wanted us to do a study on what that would be, I will say, and not in a negative way, but Kaz, you were the controller and the chairman of the pension board back when we did the drops in 4 and 5 and did some of the early retirement packages. It didn't work out as well as had been hoped.
It didn't work out the school district too much either.
So, I mean, we could absolutely positively look into that and
Well,
see what.
we can look into it from all angles.
And question number 2, in like vacation time, I mean, can they sell their vacation time back for?
Some can and some cannot. As I think somebody asked the question last night about I think it was Guy with the fire department. Some of the unions have unlimited vacation, unlimited sick time. The police department, unfortunately for those guys, they're use it or lose it in their vacation, but can carry on every sick day forever. So it just depends. One of the things, when we talked about general government, that very first line item, the employee payouts, every year, and again, I don't want to pick on bargaining units, but with the contracts through Act 111 arbitration that the police and fire have been given, when those people walk out the door, you know, they're walking out the door with $40,000, $50,000 of sick and vacation payouts, whereas a management non-bargaining person gets a couple weeks or so. AFSCME and Teamsters get $50 a day on their sick time. It just depends on what has happened contractually back in the day,
Yeah,
recently.
just thinking of ways.
Yeah, and I know that we're in the process of negotiating the Teamster contract right now. We look at all those things. We just looked at the AFSCME union contract a year ago. So those things, that's a good question. We do try to look at those things, try to negotiate those things.
How's that going? The negotiations?
For the Teamsters, Lisa and David are on that team.
Hasn't started yet.
We're meeting on the 11th.
And Chuck too, huh?
Any other questions on sewers?
David, I'm going to ask you just one, if you wouldn't mind. Any of the repair maintenance supplies, does that get divvied up through all the municipalities, or is that?
Through the
Any
municipality.
of these expenses normally are,
Anything that has to do with the operation of the plant gets split up among the municipalities. It includes
There's some subtractions and
employee costs and materials. So labor and materials go into
repair,
chemicals.
maintenance services, emergency sewer repairs, cleaning, roof killing, even though some of them
A
may be
percentage
in-
of those, because they don't pay for the stormwater portion, so we have to split that up, whether it's stormwater or sanitary, and then they pay for the sanitary portion of the collection system.
very nice
So-
handout on page 63. Lisa put it up there.
Okay, thank you.
No,
No, that's good.
yeah, it shows exactly
Hey,
what the
We
expenses
see
are.
these big numbers, we want
Yeah.
to know, is this all on our dime, or is?
No, how the
We haven't set
expenses.
up for the audience.
So like, out of the $23 million, you
I
have
know,
to take out the transfer, and you have to take out the central service costs, and then you base everything else, after you've taken those things away, on the flow, and then you get a number. And as David said, 40% of the expenses that are in here, but it usually comes out to be about 33% of the bottom line.
Tomorrow's still another discussion.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. You want to stay in this section and go on right into refuse and recycling? Next page, on page 76, 77, actually. And we just discussed a little bit about the new single-item pickup program, and everything else is as before. And you'll see that as we go throughout the public works. It's pretty much flat over the last few years on all the expenses.
Yeah, there is, if you look at 4047, heat, light, power, and water, there is a jump there compared to the other. You see that? It was 24.8 going to 32. So how do you explain why that would be going up where the other line items for?
They moved to a new building this year, and they went, well, this went down to, they used to be in an old building that didn't really have any heat, and it was where, at the end of, right there off French Street, in the old Streets Garage, and then we moved, sewer collection used to be in the Public Works complex, and they moved down to the wastewater treatment plant, and then these guys moved over to where sewer collection was, so now they have a actual real building, and it has a garage, and there's heat, and so and they have to pay their portion of that bill there, so that's, I assume, is the main reason why that went up.
is.
And then what about 4059, other service charges, is going from 737,000 to 766,000? You see that 4059?
Yeah.
The central service costs in the recycling guide?
Central service costs went up for the refuse fund, where it went down with the sewer funds, all based on usage and formulas on expenses versus the total amount of running the department.
But why did it go up? What's the?
The percent, all the expenses of these departments are put, the easiest way to explain it would be into a bowl, and the percentage of the refuse is taken out based on the usage of that department.
Like a central pool.
Yeah, and as, Kaz, you were the controller at the point in time 6 years ago when we had been working off a central service allocation from 2003 or 2004 that wasn't really.
No, we always argued about
yeah,
it.
and so in 2013 we bid that out, and a local accounting firm handles the central service allocation for us. So
Much more fair.
yeah.
Do we have ear insurance for our auto insurance?
No, we do not. Yeah, our broker for the property casualty, and I don't think, Chris didn't really mention names, and our broker has looked at all the major carriers, and their commercial line is just not as good as some of the others.
That's fine.
Before we move off refuse, just a couple things to remember. This is gonna be our last year with waste management. We're gonna have to go out to bid again. And it's not reflected in the budget book, but we recently received a grant for $350,000 from the DEP to purchase composting equipment.
Isn't there gonna be a problem with, when I was on the COG, you were talking about recycling problem? We're gonna maybe have to go to, bins?
It's possible. I think waste management's looking at some changes, but it does not
Be
affect
aware that
us.
that may come down the line.
It's definitely coming down because there's no market for the glass anymore. I mean, all the other municipalities have already changed, so.
Green Township, I know
Yeah,
this.
our contract, the one we put out for bid had different items for recycling, and since we didn't get any bids for it, we kept our old contract, which includes, this is our last year, we're gonna be able to collect glass.
But the COG says they're gonna try to work out a deal to, help the communities. So, nothing's come yet, but
Talking to Sarah, I think she said there's some grant money available
Yeah.
to purchase
they've been
some bins.
Mr. Kunzel was contacting her too, because they're trying to work out some stuff that maybe will help us a little bit.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing that this is our last year for waste management? Will it be an increase for next year?
I don't know, this, the bidding will tell us. I was glad to see Pro Waste came on, built their transfer
How many do we
station.
have in the past? Only one bid, or?
Usually, there used to be that one company underneath, out there on East Avenue. They went out of business, and then there's been no competition for the last 2 bids, so happy to see Pro Waste come in.
Yeah, Dave's reached out to Waste Management. I think currently in our recycling, they take 8 or 9 different items. And we've reached out and asked them if we reduce the amount of items that we recycle, such as glass, will it be a reduction in our tipping fees?
I'll
We haven't
reach
heard
out
back
to,
from them.
Pro Waste, because I'm pretty good friends with them and have a
Yeah,
conversation
I'm
and
cu-
see.
we met with them several times before the bid too, and then they just didn't bid, on the recycling.
What about line item 4078? You just said that we got a grant for composting equipment, but it's 150,000 in 2017, 155 in 2018, going to 225. What does that mean?
That's for equipment, and we're planning on purchasing a new compactor in 2019.
Okay.
That's separate. The 350,000 grant was a DEP grant.
And that's just for compost site equipment, which is compost processing or carrying the compost. That's a
Okay, I mean, the line item does say compactors and compost
yeah.
equipment.
Yeah, this wasn't a line item. The 350 I mentioned wasn't a line item in the budget book. I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Sarah just got that grant.
And so why is it going up so much? Because you're purchasing equipment? Why is it going from 155 to 225, I guess?
There's 2 different operations in the refuse department. There's the composting that's on the compost site down the wastewater treatment plant, and then there's the refuse collection. So with the 225, that's a compactor, which is about 150,000.
That's a new
That's the
unit.
one.
You'll see a new
And
green
then,
one, right?
and then brand new, nice one, and because we have to keep the fleet alive, you know, they have a lifespan of about 12, 14 years. So you have to keep replenishing it so we can keep the operation moving. And then the other is tandem trucks that have to haul compost from the compost site, or just a utility truck for down there.
Get into the compost and revenues tomorrow. Another good item.
The compost site is improving a lot.
I mean,
You've
just, I
seen it,
know
yeah.
a lot of it's given away, and I don't know by law if there's any other options for that.
Some people sell it, it's just getting the quality to the point where people would want to buy it. And so that's our goal, we're approaching it, but we're not there quite.
Because I know, we'll save that for revenues tomorrow, but I believe other places are getting it and selling it, and we're giving it to them and they're profiting from it, so let's.
Yeah, there's definitely.
Wait, Jim, so you think people are getting the free compost from
Sure.
Erie and then,
Selling it.
Oh, they are, I mean.
As well as
Builders go up there and beat the.
even the places where we drop it for free, which is a great thing we do, but you'll get your landscape companies come and they'll clean it out, and next thing you know, they're doing somebody's,
Ask them, they'll admit it.
well,
they could be doing somebody's house in Fairview and charging them buku.
so we should talk about that tomorrow night when we do revenues.
Yeah,
Wow.
If they're gonna make money off us. maybe
I mean, we're buying, look at it, they're just getting the equipment, $350,000 grant for equipment to
Maybe we
do
need-
what we've been doing.
Right.
Maybe we
And
need
I
to
think that plant down there has grown.
Yeah, but you should see some days when we drop off the compost, there's people there, you know, crowds of people, and sometimes there's those people, then there's some people with the 5-gallon buckets. A lot of the, you know, immigrants are down there that have their own little gardens and things like that, and
use
there's
it in
all
my
kinds
garden.
of, you know, use of this material. So I'd hate to throw it out, you know, somewhere to
There's-
separate the
We
two.
gotta be smart.
Let me tell you, they do it in Allentown, okay? They got a guy at the gate, I don't know what they pay him, maybe he's a volunteer, maybe he's a retired person. You don't get in there unless you got a right license, okay?
Yeah, I mean,
We gotta quit being nice, okay? I mean, it looks like it's not a big deal, but We got guys that come into the city, we don't license them. They block the streets, they do everything, they do anything they feel like. They plow. During the summer, they're picking up free compost. What a deal. I wish I could do that.
Put it this way, even during the spring cleanup per se, I'd be curious to know how many people that may own a rental unit in the city have brought their stuff from
Guaranteed.
and dumped it here.
So we gotta start
on our
talking,
dock.
where we
How
can.
how do you stop that?
When I tell you,
Well-
okay, when I report it as citizens, we gotta start doing something. You do a
Put
couple,
it this way, one way you're stopping
You
it
do a
is
couple and
not
it's in the
having
paper,
a
right?
spring cleanup.
Well, yeah,
You're
that
not
is
gonna
all
have
gone.
one thing,
Yeah.
you're not gonna have
It's all gone now, so.
you go after one person, you put in a newspaper, and I'll bet you watch what happens. All of a sudden, they know we're watching. Just like you put cameras in McBride to 1 year, remember?
Yeah, that did work.
Right? We need to do stuff like that.
Any other questions on refuse? All right, we'll go to page 81, which is golf.
What you say? Cat move.
Keep moving.
Oh. What do we got?
Same as the others, it's about the same, almost exactly the same across the board here. Downing Golf Course, J.C. Martin Golf Course, they're open all year round, except the season is really April through October. We have 2 full-time employees there, and the rest are part-time employees. And if you looked on that list that I provided before in the handout, golf used to be 3 courses, and we had a lot more employees. So we've been chipping away at the number of employees at the golf courses over the years.
Can I ask you a wild question while you're there? A mechanic. Okay, we need a full-time mechanic. I mean, think long enough before you answer it. Just ask me.
I just want to read some numbers off, revenue versus expenditures for the golf course. Golf courses, 2014 revenue, $453,468, expenditures, $543,765, a variance of $90,297. 2015, $459,448 in revenue, $538,621 in expenditures, a variance of $79,173. 2016, the variance was actually in the positive, $510,599 in revenue, and $492,669 in expenditures for a variance of $17,930. 2017, $489,604 in revenue, $538,461 in expenditures, a variance of $48,857. Now, one of the weird things I noticed in 2008 is that the $595,325 was budgeted, and the projected was $4,578 for a variance of minus $141,147. But then somehow the 2008 budgeted revenue listed in the 2019 preliminary budget somehow mysteriously dropped from $595,000 to $547,000, which will show that a smaller variance between revenue and, yes, so I don't know how that happened, how that number changed. I want to point out that since I've become famous for talking about the golf course, that actually we had an email from a business person who just said the other day, it was to all of us on city council, he said, just sell the damn golf course. Now, whether that's the right answer or not, I don't know, but the 2005 early intervention report says, Exhibit 8 details the golf course revenues for the period. Golf course revenues declined by $178,000 from 2000 to 2004. Anyhow, it goes on. This indicates that usage peaked in 2001 and has been declining at a rate of 8.8% per year since. This obviously is a concern looking forward. I think we need some, I'm sure that the early intervention people are going to come in again and say, what are you going to do about the golf course? Long-term, we have to decide about that. I think we also need, I'm looking to what the guy said, just sell the damn golf course. How do we justify, and I don't want to hear that it was a rainy season. So we had a rainy season from 2000 to 2004. We've had a rainy season from 2014 to 2018. Something is not right here.
Could I speak to the
Oh, you talked to that.
Yeah, 02, 03, 04 is when they were fixing up Erie Golf Course. So for a couple of years, there was very, very little play up at Erie. So the revenues were down. Yeah, it hurt us there.
How do we explain this?
I don't know what you have. But the sheet.
These are the numbers that I took from our documents on what the revenue and, you sent them to me,
Yeah.
Paul. I asked them for you.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did.
And I gave
And I put them into a
No, and
spreadsheet.
I gave you 8 years' worth of documents, and I know, Kaz, you're gonna tell me $30,000 isn't a lot, but you took a 5-year period where we didn't have, we did not make a lot of money. We might have had a loss there from what you're reading off.
Oh, 30,000 over how many years?
Over 8 years,
No
yeah,
businessman
I'm
would
not,
know,
look, I'm not in disagreement with you, but if you look back at the longer period of time, over the 8-year span, and I know $8,000 or $30,000 isn't a lot of money, but over that long period of time, golf did make money compared to the 5 years. And going back to the earlier time, the early intervention report, I sat with Joe Holman. I talked to Joe Holman. He didn't understand what went on at Erie, where the previous administration and the Senate Mayor Filippi's group put a lot of money into Erie to try to fix it up, and they did some really good things up there, but it took a couple years between fixing up the greens, the tees, putting in the new watering system. They changed 2 or 3 holes. There was a lot of work, so there was very, very little revenue that was made up there during those 2 years, but we had to keep the golf course up through the expenses of fertilizers, fungicides, the whole thing.
I would not be, I know where you're coming from. I wouldn't be in favor of selling it because I know what the assessed value was.
I showed you
About $2
the
million.
assessment.
We would, and when I'm gonna use some vernacular, that'd be like a drunken sailor on a weekend. That money'd be gone in no time.
Unless it was set aside
Right.
for
But that's-
capital fund.
But I would think that as an asset, correct me if I'm wrong, as an asset, it carries more weight, right? So even if we were to keep it as a park, or turn it over to a ski slope, you know, maybe do that in the winter, not a ski slope, but cross-country skiing, other golf courses have done that. If we look at maybe renovating the clubhouse, and the other thing I would say is maybe leasing. Mill Creek has been very successful in leasing. I think they get
30,000 plus
30,000 a year.
plus the
better than what we're
equipment.
doing.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, we should just explore it. Rather than sell it, I would say, let's explore lease. Let's see if we can do it. I mean, if we can still make money, you know, because I really believe it's not people like you who are here using it. People coming in from outside the city, and we're subsidizing.
Yes, we are.
And it shouldn't be.
No, they pay extra for the season passes.
Now we do, we didn't years ago.
No, always.
We had to be.
So what is the explanation for why the budgeted revenue was changed from,
Last year, we did a transfer, and we took the workers' comp out of golf because they didn't have the money last year to pay that bill.
How about the mechanic? Do we need?
But going back again,
Someone's gotta
5,
fix
6,
the
7, 8 years,
Can we lease
golf
that?
made money.
so when did that transfer occur, though? Because were we alerted to that?
Last year.
No, the budget was passed with a projected revenue of $595,000 per the final budget, and in the 2019 budget, the projected, or the budget number was changed to $547,000. So how did that happen? How?
They didn't pay that bill.
And I'd just like to say something on the golf courses. We have almost a $2 million budget parks, and I think the fact that golf gives money back is a bonus, whether or not it makes the run even. We have swing pools, we have baseball fields, we have tennis courts, and we had nothing back from all those, and we have a $2 million budget for that. And golf, at least golf, we get, if not all, we get most of it back from the users.
Parks are a core function of a municipality. They're open to everyone. They should be. A golf course in Harbor Creek is not a core function of the city of Erie. So I think we should explore at least leasing it and then see what early intervention says about it as an asset. I don't think we should just go put a for sale sign in there. But unless we start, why was this not talked about before? Why are we back, again, taking state money from taxpayers to come in for early intervention to look at our assets?
I think the golf
Something's not right here.
They're used by, and there is no room in the city for it. We have a J.C. Martin golf course, that's why it's outside the city. But we have, it's used by kids, it's used by retired people, it's used by women, men. It's a great asset for the city to provide for everyone there. And like I said, it gives money back. Baseball doesn't give money back. Tennis doesn't give money back. Swimming pools, you put a lot of money into those, they don't give money back. But the golf courses do. And it gets used, we have young girls EDWGA leagues there. We have kids clinics during the summer. We have the high schools use the golf course. It's a great asset, and it almost pays for itself.
It's part of, you gotta look at it also as part of our, even our summer program we have. The city puts out a lot of money to, whether
And
it
as
be
my
the seniors, the
cohort said-
kids,
As my cohort said, those are open to anybody. I'd like a bowling alley, but I ain't gonna get that. Okay? I mean, let's be fair. We have tennis courts, they're free.
Bocce courts.
We have bocce courts, they're
let's
free. We set up a park for skateboarders. Okay? Those are all open to anybody.
That's right.
it doesn't matter, so those are in the city,
But
but
golf,
that
I
doesn't
gotta pay to
mean.
go in there. So it's not part of our core mission. It's a nice thing,
But
but
there
it
again,
should make
it's
money.
something to look into, whether
That's why I
maybe
said
that one
lease
can
it.
be
Let's see if we
leased,
can make
or
some money
it's
at it.
at least something we can look into.
I hate to look at Milford,
I
but
can
there they
make a
are
copy
making
of that, right?
30,000 a year or whatever.
I can just run in there right now and make a copy.
That'd look nice on our balance sheet.
Where are we at?
Liquid fuels.
And liquid fuels is the state money we receive, and that helps supplement the streets budget, and it also helps us buy salt, equipment, and pays for the lights, street lights. And that's 4049 street lights. Same thing, it goes up a little bit, goes down, up and down. But machinery equipment, we have 450,000 there. That's going to be for streets equipment, most probably street sweepers and plows. Bridges and streets is for paving. Repair maintenance supplies is more mainly salt, but other miscellaneous materials. But that's about it. I don't have any questions on that. It's pretty straightforward.
I mean, the equipment kills us. I mean, I know we have to update, we have to.
It takes a beating out there.
But it's a nice chunk of change in every department. It would be nice if there was a way we could hold off a little here, a little there, this department, to just help the big picture.
Oh, I agree. And just the plows, sometimes in winter, they're going 24 hours a day, especially last winter. So
And
they take a beating out there.
You know, a lot of things are weather generated.
Sure.
Whether it be golf, really, with our revenues from golf, you have a wet, whether
And the
our
liquid fuels
sewer-
is grant money. That's all grant money there. That's not general fund money at all.
So what's going to happen in line item 4075, bridges/streets?
That's paving.
Okay? So that's down a lot, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And we aren't going to be floating a new bond to pave streets?
Yes.
We are?
Talked about that a couple times, yeah, at finance committee meetings, first meeting of November when the mayor
That'll
gave his
probably be-
presentation on the budget.
That'll probably be tomorrow.
Yeah.
with revenue, right?
Well, I guess what I'm just pointing out is that there's substantially less in that line item, correct?
That's coming from this account, though.
From this account,
Yeah.
yeah.
From liquid fuels.
And a bond issue would not be in here.
No, but I'm just saying, so, I know it's a grant, but why was it 1.2 million and then now 500,000?
No, that's
Yeah.
not the total paving, but.
The total paving program is in the Paul's.
Right,
yeah,
I understand, I'm just asking, 4075 was 1.4, 1.0, 1.2, 1.1, year-to-date, and then 500,000, do you see that?
I like that.
And if you go to years prior, it was in the 500,000 range as well. It just kind of goes up and down as. But if you want to look at page 57 in the handout, it's kind of a proposed paving curb ramp schedule for 2019. And we receive CDBG funds for that as well, curb ramps and paving. But the paving's restricted to the CDBG area only, and the curb ramps are throughout the city.
You're gonna stay close to 4 million in paving. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
I think the one thing to remember about the paving is that the last 4 or 5 years, we've added about $1 million to the paving budget, give or take, you know. So we've paved a lot more the last 4 or 5 years than we have
Correct.
the previous 10.
Because there had been a low, the streets were starting to get into pretty bad shape, and so that's when the previous administration wanted to focus more on improving the streets, and I think it shows right now. Most of the main runs are in very good shape.
Well, I believe some of that showing is us doing it in-house
Correct.
is what helped get a lot more streets done too, and I think our guys actually do a
I
better
agree with you.
job.
Yeah, they do, I
Some
think
of the
they do.
contractors and
They
I-
do a better job than the contractors, and,
I wish you would've had the ones do my street. You're right, Jim, our guys do a nice job.
One day
do a great
they'll
job.
figure out
Yes,
how
they
to
do.
just
I never get a
raise those
complaint.
little manhole covers so we don't have that big
Yeah.
pothole, you know.
yeah, that's always an
In the-
issue with, and one contractor.
Like this.
And which one is that?
I can't.
Well, you can, we pay for them, we're paying them.
No, they're all equally the same.
We'll get there.
All right, any more questions on liquid fuels? We'll move to the, page 44 then.
44 now.
Oh, 18, code enforcement.
Mel, what's wrong?
No, it's my
Kaz, that's Kaz.
You're gonna be here a while. Well, you better go now.
What page?
What page, Mel?
Serious, let's do it.
Okay, their budget, like most of the other budgets, is basically the same. Some up, some down, but not, the variance is very slight. 4059 is, as you know, it's mostly payments to BIU for the rental program, rental inspections. Everything else is just minimal amount of money. Any questions?
Well, this is about revenue, but
His expenditures, yeah, tomorrow's revenue,
but he's not gonna be here, so. And I think this is pertinent. One problem I have with the code is they are one of our biggest generators of revenue. You would agree?
Yes, they're very good at generating.
Okay, and I have had numerous complaints, and I've checked on them.
Oh, here, Cass, why don't you make sure that
I'll take this
microphone
off.
is over there?
Very good.
It
Sorry
sounds
about
like
that.
it. There.
we go. I've had numerous tips, and I've looked into them. I don't believe they're collecting all the fees properly. So I'm putting you on notice that I will be watching in the following year, okay?
All right, anything?
This department is no different than parking tickets or the garbage problem. We expect this department to do its job, okay? Recently, I pointed out a couple buildings which fell through the cracks. I don't know how you fall through the cracks when it's right on the main street, okay? And then it took about a month to collect the money. And I don't think it was a proper amount. So I have two problems. One is, I was told that if I come in to do a project, they ask me how much it's gonna be. I tell them and they accept that. They don't ask for a contract as to the value of the project. And then that value gets sent over to the county, so we're not getting the proper tax money. That's gotta stop. And I don't wanna hear any more about certain people sliding through the system. And I will show you them, and you know, okay, I'm not gonna do it tonight, but I don't wanna see no more of that, okay? I expect that department to act upon complaints. I expect them to be proactive with any projects. And there's many projects going on right now around downtown. I bet you if I walk up there, there are no building permits on there.
I take offense to that.
No, you can take all offense you want. This is my meeting, Dave. You can take all offense you want. I'm gonna see you tomorrow, and I'm gonna show you some of these, okay? And you can ask right now, the project that Gannon just built, the one that's on Peach Street, they had a church they renovated. There was no building permit on that. That's not even subject to debate, okay?
It is, because I gave you the explanation, Kaz.
You would have what?
I gave you the explanation on that when you brought that to my attention. They follow the UCC code on every building. You bring me one piece of evidence.
There was no building permit when they started work, Dave.
Because the work didn't require a permit.
But then when it did, nobody checked on it.
Yeah, when the
It
work
was because I brought it
I
up.
don't want to argue with you on that.
Well, yeah, you are arguing with me, and I brought it up.
Bring me some evidence. You always are making assertions about this.
Dave,
office.
I told you they didn't collect a building permit on there. They admitted they didn't, then they went back and collected it.
Kaz, I've never seen all these, every year, you bring the same show up. And I've never once seen one piece of evidence.
Then you're gonna come with me. And you and I are gonna go down to the office and check the building permits.
Kaz,
Do I have your word on that tomorrow?
I'll check.
After the meeting, when I get done with revenue, you and I are gonna go and check a few.
Kaz, I think it's outrageous that you make these comments about this office.
You can think all you want, Dave. It's not coming from me, it's coming from the public.
Never produced any evidence.
You want me to start producing?
Yes.
I just produced one to you, Dave.
And I told you, that was untrue, what you said,
It was not untrue. They didn't have a building permit, Dave.
because it wasn't required. And you were given the whole explanation.
Dave, there's a building on top of, right across the street from here. There's an addition on top of there, never been a building permit. Check it out tomorrow, okay?
Yes, anytime you have an issue,
Dave,
bring it to me directly.
Dave, I told you a year ago about this. You didn't want to, you poo-pooed it.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Kaz,
So,
anytime you
look,
have
I'm going to stop right here, but tomorrow you and I are going out, okay?
In the future, though, you have something, bring it to me. You never have. I've never seen one piece of evidence.
Dave?
ever.
Dave, it's been brought to your attention.
I disagree.
Well,
Let's move on, gentlemen.
Yes.
I have a few questions. Can you explain deferred compensation, 4021, 2018 budget was 18,684. In 2017, it was 12,754. And in 2016, it was 12,138. And this year, at this time, it's only 7,599, but then it's supposed to go up again for next year.
I can explain that. The deferred comp program is, it's, in layman's terms, it's a 401k program that all the employees are eligible to take. It's based on, the union employees here get 2.5% match on their salary, and the management employees get 2% match on their salary. We've always budgeted at 100% participation because everybody's eligible for it, and whether or not they decide to go into the program is up to them. But if we don't budget it and Dave and I are not in at the beginning of the year, but on February 1st I decide I want to take part in the 401k 403B is what it actually is. If I want to take part in the deferred comp, then we need to have the budgetary availability to do that.
Okay. And in postage, it's going up. And I know postage is going up. Is there a way we can email and do phone conversations instead of use postage?
We contact all of our vendors. A lot of them are still in the world of wanting to get checks. They want letter correspondences. We do a lot of email within the workplace.
And then,
And Kath, the one thing you'll see, going back in time, that postage number has really not gone up over the last 10 or 12 years.
no, it's funny that it was high in 2016, and then it went up, and then it went down in 2017. So it just fluctuates.
Based on usage, yes.
Mm-hmm. And then the salaries. Is that just the 3%, the 798 to the 836?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And as you'll see on the very next page, on page 19, that it lists who those people are, and some of those, 1, 2, 3, so out of the 15 and a half people in there, 3 of those are management non-bargaining, and the other are AFSCME employees who are eligible for the 3% raise plus their longevity when it fits their time frame.
When we approve quality of life ticketing, so what is the implementation schedule for that?
That's the question I wanted to ask.
Quality of life ticketing, what is the implementation schedule for that?
Right now, we're working on the software portion. When we roll it out, we want it to be done, come out right, and so it's not going to be piecemeal, and we want to make it the right, because it's going to affect a lot of people are going to be not happy about it, I think, to get a ticket for things they normally get tickets for. So we want to have it, we have to get software for it. We also want to know the ticket itself. We're talking to the parking authority and other places, how they do it. And the software is we don't want, there's some general software discussion going on right now about for the whole office and actually maybe for the building. So it's trying to fit that in at the same time. So it's going to be rolled out, but we want to do it right.
What is the plan to communicate? Because we passed it, we talked about it, but you know that unless there's a good plan to communicate when it's going to start, that we're going to have irate citizens. And is there actually a warning process before you get the ticket? I can't even remember what was included in the ordinance. So is there a plan being formulated to communicate? Is that going to come from code enforcement or from the communications office, or?
Well, we as we are right now, they work closely with a lot of the neighborhood groups, and we'll be continuing that, and that'll be a big part of spreading the word is the neighborhood groups. And then we'll have press conferences, we have that, and then we have we have social media, we have our website, so there'll be all different ways to get that information out.
So do you anticipate like spring, like first quarter, second quarter, or?
I hope. It's just the sooner the better for our sake. But we just want to make sure it's not bungled when it goes out. It comes out right.
You want to do it?
Yeah, do it right the first time.
Why is the overtime so low?
I like that.
Is there overtime in that office?
Yeah, they do some weekend works with the police on some of the nuisance bars and things like that.
Is there overtime in there?
Is there overtime in the budget?
No, I mean, is there overtime for all code enforcement people?
Any union person is required to get overtime if they work overtime.
I thought I was understood there was no overtime in there.
It's right here.
Well, no, I mean, but
Yeah,
does some people get comp time, or
sure. The people that don't get overtime get comp time.
isn't that in their job description, though?
Well, if they're working 50 hours a week, they
No, I mean, if they're not in a bargaining unit,
right.
and their job description said they're the accept, you know, go to meetings. Do you give them comp time?
Depends on the meeting, when it is, and how much time.
But if their job description said that's part of the job, why would you do that?
Because if they have 3 meetings on a weekend, and it takes up 12 hours of their weekend, they're.
Well, what's a job description? That's what,
The job description doesn't say unlimited hours either.
I don't get it. But if you know when you take a job, that's part of it, why would you give out comp time? I mean, I had 5 meetings today, and I knew what I was getting into, okay?
Yes, these guys.
$6,000 for that, man. What are you talking about?
No, I'm just asking a serious question.
yes,
If you
It's not-
sign up and that's part of the job, why would you get comp
It's not
time?
minute for minute.
Huh?
It's not minute for minute. They're not going for minute on that. If it's something that's
It just
deserved-
doesn't seem like it's, you know, it doesn't seem, it may be a small thing, but these are the things, like, okay, clothing, I want to ask you about clothing allowance, okay? Is there a clothing allowance in this department?
Sure.
Who gets it? Who gets it?
The people in the department.
No, people that need what, clothing, right?
I think it's a contractual issue.
Well, that's what I want to know, because I was told everybody in that department gets a jacket, a shirt, and everything, okay?
These people go on people's property, they have to have some identification.
Yes, but I was told it's people that don't go out of the office to get it too. That's the question I have. It may be a small thing, but when I was controller, I bought my own shirts, okay? City didn't give me one, didn't come out of the budget. The ones I wore were my own, I had made, okay? So if people in the office are getting shoes and jackets, I want to know why, okay?
Yeah, they're getting it. You're talking about the girls.
If it's
in the-
contractual, it's one thing, but if it's not required, I mean, I don't care about the people who go out in the field, they need new clothing. I know where they go. But if I'm working in an office, I don't think anybody around here in the office gets a clothing allowance.
They don't get an allowance, the ones, they get shirts though. The girls that are working behind the desk get a shirt,
They get what?
shirts,
Okay, why? It's not,
just for the look of the office.
nobody else in the city does that, Dave. That's why, you know, we're starting to look for ways, and
Sure
it's
they do,
menial,
Cass.
but
It's
we're
contractual.
looking for way.
Down in the CSOs down there, they don't go out in the field, they get it. I mean, everybody that's asked me, and it's in the
I'm just
contract.
asking, Dave, don't get defensive, okay?
Well, I am.
We're looking for ways to cut
It's
money.
just 2,000 though, so that's.
And, you know, I'm saying they get shoes, why, I don't know why shoes. I used to be a controller, so don't try to BS me there, okay? I know what went through there, and I questioned it then. So tighten up, okay? Tighten up a little bit and quit being so defensive. You're not talking to somebody out there in the audience anymore, okay? We're not playing to the crowd. Please, Dave, okay? Start looking a little tighter.
Guys, I think we're holding everything very.
No, Dave, it's my meeting. I'll tell you when I'm holding you up. So keep going.
Yes. I'm saying that every budget, if you look at every budget here.
And we
it's
are,
holding
David.
to
If
every-
you're not the
every
only one
budget item is
Dave, you're not the
stable.
only one we're questioning. We're questioning everybody.
I understand, but I'm.
These are
telling you
serious
that.
times, okay?
Yes, I'm telling you. If any, we're holding the line on every budget item we have here. You see, go through every budget. We're holding the line on every.
I don't want to see any more uniforms than are required, okay?
Kaz, let's move on to the next one.
Dave, you are not running this meeting, understand that, okay? The questions will be done when we say they're done.
I'm
You're here as our guest
I'm
tonight.
here all night, Kaz, if you want.
Well, you may be here if you keep that attitude. Go ahead.
You're gonna be here by yourself, yes.
All right, page 44.
I'm okay. I'm perfectly good. Nobody's asked these questions before. Hey, just calm down.
Me calm down. I ain't say, yeah.
I'm just getting warmed up.
All right, 44 is Director's Office. Not much there on operating expenses. Any questions on the Director's Office? Bureau of Engineering, page 45.
Okay, Bureau of Engineering on page 45, you'll see that the personal expenses have gone down by $56,232, and that's one of the positions that we eliminated, was the transit person and the survey crew. And everything else pretty much stayed the same. A couple budget items I'd like to, that are not in the budget book, a couple grants that we received that we're going to be going ahead in 2019. The $2.6 million grant for street improvements on West A Street from Pittsburgh to Green Garden.
Pittsburgh Avenue, Green Garden.
We'll also be working on a $1 million RACB grant for lighting improvements and streetscape improvements in the downtown area. And we just received another $500,000 for streetscapes on West 13th Street. So any questions on engineering?
Traffic engineering.
Traffic engineering? Yeah, $1 million safe. Traffic engineering, the same, we're keeping the overtime at $35,000, just the same as 2018, although we're getting very close to reaching that number with the call-outs. A little bit more in maintenance, $10,000 more in repair and maintenance supplies. Those are for light poles, signal poles, anytime the guy's going out and doing any kind of repairs. Just for your information, the city maintains 549 of the street lights, street poles, out of a total of over 7,000. All the rest of them are owned by Penelec.
219 traffic signals.
Yeah, and 220 traffic signals and 50 school zone flashers.
Is the reporting of outage streetlights the same as it's always been?
Yes, we take them by phone, and twice a year the Bureau of Streets, when they go on winter schedule at night when the weather's nice, they'll canvass the city.
870-1396.
Have we looked into taking over the lights ourselves ever?
Yeah, we're talking to Penelec about, what was it, leasing the poles and taking over the Cobra heads.
And change them to LEDs and getting the lower price on the energy.
Where's that guy?
Now, the LED is the white lights or the blue lights?
Yeah, they have a different color than
What
the
we
other
currently
ones.
have.
Yeah. But they're much, much cheaper and they have a longer life, too.
I have a question about traffic engineering. Kathy and I had a pretty good discussion today with the consultant to the Bayfront Parkway changes, and talking to somebody from PennDOT. Okay. Yes. It was Sean and Brian, right? Anyhow, so it turns out that in Waterford there were people, you know how Waterford was mad about the roundabouts and everything. So the guy explained that when you got to the roundabout, there were people who would like bear to the right, and then they would start speeding. So Waterford put up a sign to say, you know, basically, this is what the speed limit is, and this is what you're doing. And the PennDOT person said that that's actually a really effective way to get people to slow down. Kathy had called the traffic engineer yesterday, or sometime recently, to ask about whether there could be signs on the Bayfront Parkway to tell people what the speed limit is. And she was told that, well, it's getting to be winter and we wouldn't want to haul those out. PennDOT agreed, yeah, winter's not a good time to put that out. But I'm wondering why it was kind of up to a council person to ask that question when we know that there has been so much discussion about whether, you know, no matter where you stand on the McBride Viaduct, the perception is that people are going to be walking somewhere where it's, you know, going to be less safe. That may not be the actuality, but we all know that people are speeding on the Bayfront Parkway. So I'm wondering how, I guess it's kind of good for Kathy that she brought this up, but why would somebody from the traffic engineering department not have had the same thought that Kathy and I had, like, duh, let's put a sign up and tell people the speed limit in the city is 35 miles an hour, no matter which side you're coming into the city. So I guess it's too late to do that for this season, but we want to make sure that that happens because it's effective. It's not going to generate revenue. It's not like people are going to be right now at least, getting ticketed for speeding, but anything we can do to tell people, no matter where you are on that parkway or connector, this is what the speed limit is, follow it. Kathy, do you want to?
You saying there's no speed limit signs?
No, there
No,
are.
we're talking about a flashing sign that's a sign which Waterford uses. There's all, city has these signs. They're all over the place.
Probably where the welcome signs are, you're saying, right?
Yeah, and these signs will tell, you've seen them, like when you're on, going into a construction zone on the turnpike where it says, speed limit is 55, you are doing 75. Not that I ever do that. I don't. I'm not a fast driver. But, so we would like to make sure that that's taken care of in the spring. Proactive, low-cost way to slow down traffic to a safe speed. I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
My concern is, I use the Bayfront connector every day, but especially now where it goes at between McClellan and 12th Street, there's only one lane being able to be used because of what PennDOT is doing for their improvements. And what's happening is, well, it's been happening, people definitely do speed, but now they're speeding worse because they're trying to beat the next person to get into that one lane. And so I didn't want any accidents during this special time where PennDOT is doing their work.
Wouldn't that be a PennDOT?
Well, that's what we were talking to PennDOT, but I asked our engineering department if we had a sign. We do have one.
But PennDOT said we can do that, or they would get us even additional signs, didn't they, Kathy?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know it works.
Right. I know Mill Creek Police uses it on Kohler Avenue too when you get off of Norcross because people on Kohler speed going down to 43rd Street, and it works.
Any more questions on traffic? Go to streets.
Page.
Page 48.
The next one
Just like the rest of the budget, you're not gonna see any significant changes in the expenses. Just up slightly, $4,888,000 from $4,750,000. If you look at 4075, it went to $130,000. That's earmarked for our contribution to the final phase of the McBride Viaduct project.
That's our 5% share.
5% share.
Which number is that?
4075 Bridges and Streets, 130,000. That's our 5% share for the bridge demolition. Overtime's up slightly from 233 to 240. Obviously, last winter was very expensive for us. Seasonal wages are up slightly. Everything else is the same. 4054, we put $10,000 in rentals because last year that snowstorm over Christmas, we had to go out and rent a grader for a
Are
week.
you comfortable with the reimbursement from the state?
As far as the winter maintenance?
I mean, when we have to plow and, you know,
Yeah, yes, I am.
you are?
Yes, because I think it's important that we have control of those
One of
streets.
the council ladies there brought up that some towns, like Meadville, I think, GPS their trucks and check that against
What they're getting.
what the relevance is, whether it really is, you know. I've often wondered that question. You know, I look at how many times we run up and down 38th Street, and I'm not saying it's bad, or I'm just asking, do you think it's a good figure?
I do
Because I think we
I'm not
need
sure if
to-
the figure's good, but what I think is good is we can control and maintain.
Well, nobody's questioning that. The guys do, I mean, we get to it first. The problem I have to sell to is the public when they watch Mill Creek you know, let the state do it. And then they hit the side nibwoods first. I gotta wait till nightfall to get out. But the question is, do you feel like the reimbursement is proper? Can we go for more maybe? Do we have any ammunition in the pistol to say, you know, we're actually doing more than what you're paying us for?
In the winter, part of the contract is an escalator in there for heavy winters. And so if there's nothing in there, if it's a light winter, we don't get less. But if there's a heavy winter, we get an extra amount. Sometimes goes up to about 35,000 more. So it does reflect on the weather. And it's all based on formulas with PennDOT.
I'm just asking because,
Yeah.
you know, people ask me, they go, people aren't even aware why the state doesn't plow us. The average citizen doesn't know we get reimbursed. But others, when I talk to other communities, when I'm at the league and stuff, and some of them have challenged the state, you know. So I'm just asking if you think it's a good figure, you know, based on manpower, truck needs, and
We might get almost 200,000 this year from the state for that.
I used to see it,
When would you know that?
but I didn't know what a good figure was.
When would you know that?
Well, by contract, we're getting about 170,000, and then we get the extra bonus, and that we haven't seen the check yet for that.
And that goes for a lot of things, Jim, besides, that goes, you know, I mean, I used to see those contracts, but I didn't know whether it's good or bad. I mean, you know,
But the good part is if we get no snow the whole winter, we still get the winter.
we do,
Yeah.
we get that way then.
If there's no snow, we still get it, and then we do get extra if there is a lot of snow. So, you know, and as Chuck said, we get to control. We're not waiting for them to come in. We don't have to call them and say.
Do they plow any part of the Bayfront now?
Yeah, they go from 8th and Green, all the way down from 8th and Green Garden, all the way up to 6th Street, I think, or even actually.
79 to 90.
79 to 90.
Oh, so, the whole thing?
That loop.
Yes, the whole entire,
We don't do any of the Bayfront anymore?
nope,
Oh, okay. We used to have a little strip, right?
yes,
But we do the sidewalks, correct?
right. Well, we do the sidewalks from 6th Street up to the city line. And then below 6th Street, along the Bayfront, the Port Authority takes care of the sidewalks.
Okay. Because questions came up about the bridge, you know, once McBride goes out. I think that's our,
12th Street.
that's our,
Yeah, we do it.
that's ours?
Yes.
They're complaining that the snow's not clear on there enough times.
Okay.
So, you know, especially when we took down the bridge, now be careful.
Okay.
Just bringing it up. But it's good to know what the areas are. I just didn't know whether you thought that was a good figure, you know.
I do.
Okay.
One thing for streets, again, not a budget item, but we just received $250,000 in federal aid route money from the MPO, and that's gonna go for paving of Zimmerman from 33rd to 38th.
What's the MPO?
Municipal Planning Organization. And that's gonna start first thing this spring, probably early April, May.
That's a well-used road.
Yes, it is.
And you can see we've been doing it piece by piece, because we didn't have the money to do from 28th to
It'll be
38th.
nice to tell people now, because they always ask, well, how come you're only doing this part and that part?
Yes, we'll wrap that
It's-
one up
it's
in the
on there.
springtime. Page 50, again in the Bureau of Streets, paint and sign. Overtime is up from 4,000, we budgeted 7,500 last year. The guys all stepped up, they all worked all the overtime, so we felt we had to bump that up. You can see we reduced the seasonal wages from 19,000 to 0. We reallocated that somewhere else. To streets, partially to streets. And when you talk about things that we do for the state, we're no longer gonna do the long line striping for the state.
Which one?
Long line striping, we painted all the long lines,
What's that? You mean
the yellow lines and the double yellow and the white skips.
we used to do that?
Yes, we used to get about 7,000. We did an internal study and we thought it cost around 11,000.
So they do it now.
They're going to do it, yeah, we're no longer gonna do.
We
the
don't
striping.
paint state highways, right, at all?
No, we did. We did
You
up
do?
until this year.
That's what,
In 2019, we will not be doing that.
So
So
like
that'll save
38,
us.
like
Yes, we'll
38th
be able
Street,
to, we'll be able to save on some paint,
38th
So
and
if you'll-
Pine and
Yes.
20th Street, they'll be
Yep.
all state.
all state.
Are the painters separate from streets?
They're a division of streets, so in the wintertime, if we have a snowstorm, they get reassigned to come over and plow snow.
I was always curious why we paint streets late in the summer, you know?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the timing of the contract.
Because it seems like by the time we put them down, the snow hits and then
And then they're covered
they're
up,
worn out by the time spring comes.
they're covered up for 7 months out of the year.
Pardon?
They're covered up for 7 months
Yeah, and then sometimes it gets scraped by the plows, not, you know, just. You too, right?
Page 52 is the municipal garage, Bureau of Fleet Maintenance. And as we said before, this bureau brings in about $900,000 to the budget this year. And talked pretty much about them. Their budget itself, you'll see in the fuel costs, just based on anticipated market price. So it went up significantly there. At the beginning of last year, the gas was much lower. And if gas goes down, then this will all roll back into the general fund. Everything else is pretty much the same. We have a contract with Napa for parts, and so that's been successful for over 10 years. And everything else, the garage works hand in hand with streets during snowstorms. They're in third shift. During the winter, they're there third shift. They go into 212s if we go into 212. So it's almost like a NASCAR pit where the pallets come in, they fix them up and send them back out. And they work really well with the streets guys and the police as well to keep everything moving during the winter storms. Without them, we wouldn't be able to plow. So they do a really good job.
Kaz is going to laugh at me, but
I'm not laughing at any question.
no, you will laugh at this one. There have been frequent references to guys. Are there any women employed in any of these departments?
Very good question. We actually have 3 women carriers in the Bureau of Refuse.
Okay, thank you.
They pick up the garbage.
And we have a woman assistant bureau chief in sewers, first one ever.
Well, I know that. I'm just saying it's always, you know, the guys do this and the guys do that, and I just wondered if that was just for all guys or if.
It just happened with us.
Just a general
But if you want to take a shot, I'm sure they got a job open. You want to try it?
Anyone retiring?
Then any questions on the garage?
I'm sorry.
I mean, the biggest thing, I guess, on my end, I would think is with fuel prices going down steadily right now, if there's something we could bump off that projection sooner than later, just.
I think if we look at page 53 and 54 of the handout book.
Oh, is that going to be bad news?
Well, it's not bad news, it's just showing that the United States EIA is saying that gasoline and diesel are gonna go up, not a lot, but a little bit.
And we buy what, based on a contract, right?
Yes,
And so,
and there's a not 9X.
how often do they adjust that
We
contract?
pay $1.38 a gallon for unleaded and $1.74 for diesel. And when we give it to the other agencies, we put a quarter surcharge on it.
How often does that change that figure?
Oh, that goes
I mean, they adjust it?
Daily, doesn't it?
Daily,
Daily,
it's a
yeah.
daily market.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't think it
And
was that.
is that AJ's?
Yes,
We-
the fuel
And we
consumption.
chart the gas, Kaz, and we've charted the gas, as you know, the usage back
That's a
to,
usage.
Oh, we get the best
for
deal.
10 years, and the gallons or the gallons we're using have not changed in the last 8 or 10 years. The police are still driving their routes the same amount, the streets trucks are still driving the same,
I know we
the
got a good
garbage
deal,
trucks,
because
yeah.
we won't,
Yeah.
you know.
And that gasoline chart is also the one that we use, that you've been a part of, where we track, should we take the state's money?
Where do we
When
get
we-
our gasoline from?
Melzer's right now,
Yes.
yeah, Melzer's. And we bid that, Kathy, every 3 years contractual.
You do that through Stars or the COG? Or our own? Whatever, though, we got a lot of options.
Yeah, I don't remember.
When you say other agencies that we,
the same people that use the garage,
I mean,
we could sell gas to.
Yes.
that you do 25 cents more per
Correct.
gallon.
Correct.
With that being said, could they still be getting a deal if it's 50 cents more a gallon? And could we get a little more revenue out of it?
Yeah, you're right,
I mean,
definitely.
is that gonna make them go somewhere else, or,
Wouldn't matter, I think, if it's talking about a quarter, but yeah, I think it's
I
worth looking
mean,
into,
that's
for sure.
just something that possibly we can look into.
That's a good point. Any other questions on the garage?
I'm sorry, I did have one question about the paint department, and maybe you said this, but I don't mean to delay you, but just that 4035 line item where it's kind of erratic. I mean, it was 1842, 631, then 8,000 in 2018, and then 20. This 4035 repair and maintenance supplies under the paint and sign department. Does that have to do with the fact that we aren't painting those lines anymore, or it just 8,000 seemed like a huge variance from earlier years and then later years. Do you see that one? Yes. 4035 in the Bureau of Paint and Sign.
Historical averages.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it was over budgeted because year to date it was budgeted at 8,000, and then year to date is through, you know, the 10 months is 2,461. Was that just a weird and was that a wrong number put in there, do you think?
No, no wrong numbers.
Everybody write that down.
Geez, even the mayor's laughing, Paul.
We'll go back in time. See,
No, you better stop it.
in 15, we spent $4,600 in that line item. In 14, 10,800. In 13, 13,000. In 12, 8,500. In 11, 7,700. So when you look back and take an average of some of the equipment they have, and we haven't bought any new equipment in that department to do the line painting. They have a couple trucks that they have that they drive around in. It was about an average for the last few years.
Okay. Thank you.
next bureau is the public buildings. Public buildings is four people are in there. We have, that's on page 54. We have 2 maintenance mechanics. We have a carpenter, crew leader, who does a great job of running the crew there, and then a building engineer.
You're cutting your overtime, I see?
Yes, we're cutting the overtime on that, and every other budget item is pretty much the same. I don't see anything really significant.
This is a revenue question, but since you won't be here tomorrow, if you remember, Bob Mursky had asked about whether we could do something with the pavilion at Glenwood and rent them out the way Picnic Anna does. But I did see that in the my favorite nighttime reading, the early intervention report from 2005, that there was a recommendation that there would be a fee charge for renting, whether they have whatever. What did he want to do? Like put kitchen in, kitchen or not? In 2005, there was a recommendation that that a fee be charged for renting pavilions. Does that ring a bell with you? Or
we looked at it, and the cost of implementing it and running it and supervising it would be far outweigh whatever fees we get from that.
What if we?
How does Mill Creek do it?
What if we gave it to this? Let's say we worked in conjunction with the zoo. We had one of their, summer help or somebody monitor that. We could give the zoo some money, it would help them, part of that, partly us.
We could talk to the zoo if they'd be interested in it. It's just.
I mean, I can realize we don't want to bring any more people on, but if, let's just say, either we use summer help, or we could use, the zoo,
And it's pretty hard to use these kids to manage. You have a limited amount of tables, and there's a lot of competition for those pavilions.
They sleep overnight together.
They do.
And
I've almost done it.
the kids, you can't ask a 20-year-old kid.
6 o'clock in the morning, you're out there looking.
I have the microphone back.
That's okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, you can use kids, because my kids worked at Waldemere, and my son was my older son was a monitor for the picnics there, And actually, he used to have to check the wristbands, and he said, I can't believe people are trying to sneak into here to eat food, but he was able to monitor the wristbands at least. And I just, if anybody is following along at home and you have that early intervention plan, it's on page 18 from the Erie City Emergency Plan for 6 to 12 months back then. Under Parks and Recreation, the city should implement a fee schedule for the reserved use of its picnic pavilions. So it was a recommendation, doesn't give an amount, but it is crazy with people staying overnight there. But, you know, Presque Isle, you can reserve, and then if nobody reserves it, then it's kind of a first come, first serve.
I'd be willing, if I had a party, I'd be willing to pay $25
Yeah, rather than camp. Yeah, so. And again, it's not trying to hit people up or punish them. It's trying to acknowledge the fact that this is a resource.
All we do is post a sign on there. It's very simple. You have a problem, you have somebody there to take care of it.
Kaz and I are going to volunteer for the first round.
You want to watch Ironclad Rule, you'll see it. You won't have any trouble, David.
Refresh my memory, though. It's non-alcoholic when you do go to Glenwood Park, right? No? You can use alcohol? Okay. Didn't know that.
Any other questions on public buildings?
Put that down.
We'll go to page 56, Parks and Recreation. And this Parks and Recreation is 54 parks and 7 Teamsters that are maintaining it with the supplemental help of summer help kids. And well, you also have a summer rec program, which is the largest item in there. It's 4552. I think everyone's familiar with that program. We have tennis, we have swimming, we have golf clinics, we have all kinds of, we have summer theater, Footlights Theater. Every summer, they've been going about 45 years now. We have Spoons League, which is the best basketball league in the East Coast here.
What was that last one?
And so it's a very successful program.
Do you know how much the seasonal help there is for the kids who help the kids do activities? Do they get paid minimum wage or above?
The kids, like for the YMCA, they do the kids clubs. And
Right.
They get a close to minimum wage. We just give them a contract, and it's up to them how much they want to pay their kids.
In our department, well, now Teresa's used to audit it every year, so we do go over it. You know, we verify time cards. It's
I just wondered, Kathy, there's a list on page 51 that shows how many, on page 51 of the handout book that shows the number of people that have worked in those programs.
And they pay different, like the director will get so much. It's all
Right.
a grant though.
Same thing with the tennis and all that. And
We pass some money in through the.
Oh, I
through the
see it
wires.
now.
altogether, if you look on that, altogether, we give, the whole program, we give about $750,000 towards the summer program and 155 jobs within the bureaus and also with the seasonal help.
I do think there's room for discussion there. We want kids in summer jobs. We should really be coordinating this with the Summer Jams program. We should be making sure that that everyone has an opportunity for those jobs, because when I look at the seasonal or summer help, I see a lot of familiar names. So I don't know whether that would come under a revenue discussion or programmatic discussion. Are we going to talk about programs, Kaz? Like,
Not
yeah.
Not a budget, but we can talk.
No, but no, I mean, not tonight, but I think as part of the budget, somebody gave me an idea on the Summer Jams thing, but I want to follow up on it first before I share that idea, so.
Do we put anything into the summer jam?
This coming year, the mayor has graciously offered to put money into the program. It's in the general government on page.
I think it was 20,000.
Yes, correct. You'd find that on page
Liz,
62.
A lot of what, like the Y handle, that's them.
Right.
Because you have to be certified. And
Right, and there's
like
the
the swim
clearances
program.
and there's lifeguards and things like that as well that we get from them. Tennis instructors are all
But
certified.
it shouldn't be a summer jobs program for offspring or relatives of people who work here.
You say it shouldn't be?
It should not be a employment program for,
Well, I don't think we should hurt any kid that wants to work. If it just happen to be a relative, that's the way it goes. I don't see a problem with that.
as long as
I don't
there's
see a
equal
problem with them,
opportunity.
you know, if they get hired as a sophomore and they get hired as a junior. We are helping kids.
We actually ran out of
We're helping kids.
We actually ran out of kids one year.
We did.
I mean, I didn't notice. I got mad at Dave. I said, why don't you tell me? You know, council could have gone out maybe and found a few kids around the neighborhood because I was surprised. He was short one year. I said, well, how come there's nobody doing anything? They were telling me they couldn't cut grass the one year and all that, remember?
We advertise every spring so it's open
But
to everyone.
once they found out how hard the work was, some of them walked out.
Some walk out, some go back to school early, and some of the college kids go back to school early, and some kids just walk off, you know. But it's a good job, and you know, it's open to anyone. We
You
take
gotta
all
work,
applications.
though. That's the problem. You gotta
Huh?
You gotta
You
work.
gotta work, and some kids don't wanna work, and they walk, but if they work, they can work all summer, they can learn how to use equipment, they can use, you know, they work side by side with the Teamsters in streets and paving, they learn how to work on a paving crew, that helps them later on if they wanna get a job with some of the companies in town, Mayor
You don't
Brothers.
have to sell me on the benefits of summer jobs. I'm just saying, is there nepotism?
It's wide open. But some of the people that do have worked here, that have worked and have the skills, we'd prefer to have them the next year, because then they're working, like I said, side by side with the Teamsters. The parks was cut down to 7 people. And now we train these kids all summer long to learn how to use the mowers, and a lot of this is safety related as well, how to use all the mowers and what the system is doing the parks. They come back another year, they're much more valuable to us than spend all our time training a bunch of other kids.
When do these jobs get advertised, and could we do a job fair then for the young people? When do you hire? So
We advertise in March, because we hire at the same time, we try to get people, well, that won't happen this year. We used to do it at the same time as we get people for spring cleanup. But now, it's still gonna be about the same time. We still need to get people going in early May.
okay, is it possible to find some place that would donate the time or the space so that we could have a job fair so everybody has equal access to those jobs? Applications, I mean, could you put a tickler in your calendar to let people know that this application period is coming up? I think that would be really helpful. Okay?
Yep.
Thanks.
We could probably have the council lawyer do it. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, you said you wanted to do that, yeah. Great idea.
You volunteering?
I want to use that foyer up. There's a lot of room out there.
Where were we now?
Any more questions on parks? Then the next page, 58, is shade tree. And that's mostly, the only one line on there, that's Sarah Galloway, and it's for planting and taking down trees. And it's lower this year because Streets Department now, we were able to purchase very cheaply a truck from Mill Creek, a lift truck that could help us cut the trees instead of contracting it out. So we have a couple guys in streets that have been going out already cutting trees down, so we're able to save a lot of money there.
That tree's on the city's right away, right?
In the parks and in the right of way. And so we're getting a lot of work done with that. These guys are doing a great job supplementing what we already have been doing.
When you say the city right away, that's from the curve? How far in?
That's from the sidewalk to sidewalk, I guess. So between the sidewalk and the curb is the city right
That
of way.
little strip there.
Those trees.
Now, if I have a tree there, example, and I want it down because I think it's dying, I just call in and someone come and look out and assess it?
Sarah, yeah, the arborist will go out and assess it and tell you, well, it's dead, or it's actually sick, but it has a chance to survive, give you the whole assessment of the tree.
So she'll determine whether it get cut down or not, regardless if I want it down.
Yeah, yes, she'll give you a
Okay.
permit, and, because a lot of people are just cut, the reason for it is the trees go with the neighborhood as well, and they don't want people just cutting trees down just because they feel like it. And the other part of it is, and you try to explain it to people, that even though it's in the right of way and the city controls, they have to maintain them.
Okay.
Do we charge for that permit?
The permit is, yeah, I think I forget what the fee is, but it's a minimal amount of money.
But it's up to the homeowner to pay for the cost of the tree to come down, right?
Correct, correct.
That's one of those anomalies in the system.
But there is a list of trees that, we do get grants, and we do go out for trees that are dangerous. They could fall in the right of way, hurt somebody or something like that. The worst of the worst, we go out and grab.
I think we also should know that if the tree is tall enough and sit in the distribution lines of Penelec, which is the top wires, the one that's on the top, which is usually 34.5 volt, and if it's swinging back and forth and it's hitting that, then Penelec would come in.
And make a goalpost.
Well, that's true too. But they will come in and cut it down so it's not touching the wire.
Yeah.
Because if that 34.5 go, it could be 1/3 of the city, depending on where it's being fed to.
Yeah, and
They will not come and cut your secondary though. That's going to the house. They will not come and do that.
I think that's it, right?
That's it. We have no more.
Any other questions for?
Most of the summer programs that the kids are involved with basically comes from grant money and sponsorships from like the YMCA and programs like that.
No, most of it comes from the general fund. We do get a grant from Highmark, a $20,000 grant, and the Housing Authority gives us $17,000 a year, and that goes towards Roger Young Pool.
170.
And the rest is general fund.
See you in the morning.
And we get over 5,000 participants in that, so it's a really successful program.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for doing that. I had suggested that because I
What?
thought we should put the projector.
Okay.
And I'm surprised.
What do you want, sir? I'll leave a note for her.
I've heard from people who, they aren't showing up, but they're able to call, so I think that that's really helpful to have that. Not so much for, we have our stuff in front of us, but, you know.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody
job, David.
everybody get some sleep though.
Where's my pillow and
We'll be
stuff?
back
Good
here
job,
early in the
David.
morning.
I should just sleep underneath the table.
I want to thank the mayor for showing
Wake
up.
me up in the